All right, good morning. In the stream, I was gonna make a button for React Native Expo, and so I kind of wanted to do a little demo before I made the YouTube short onto how to do the button. Maybe have a little bit more explanation on some of the functions for the button or some of the styling in React Native Expo. So probably if you've used a button in React like Next.js, you would be familiar with button. But in React Native, it is going to be touchable opacity. Touchable opacity. And what we can do here is just create a new touchable opacity in our view. Open and close it. And we have this touchable opacity in between it. Well, let's go ahead and just run it and see what happens. We'll see that pretty much nothing has changed. That's because this is just now a touchable area inside of the view here. In order actually to create it's almost like the look of the button, we need to add elements inside of the touchable opacity. So in this case, we're going to add a text. We'll call it testing button. And now we'll see another element here. This is the testing button, and we can also see that there's kind of a difference between the actual text outside of the button and the actual text inside of the button. At this point, we have a button, and what we would like is just to add some styling to it. I have a style here, button, align item center, background color, gray, padding 10, border radius 8. So now when we take a look at the button, we can kind of see that it looks more like a button. Let's change just the color. It's way too blue. Trying to find just like a light blue. So pretty much the goal of a button, though, even though we have it looking like a button, we have it kind of acting like a button, is to kind of do something whenever the user clicks on it. So in order to actually tie into when a user clicks on it, it is going to be an on press. On press. In here we can pass in what we would like to do whenever the user clicks on it. So this would be actually like a function name. So my pressed function. Right now we don't have this pressed function. It doesn't exist. So let's actually create it. Const my pressed function equals no parameters. And so now this function will run whenever the user presses on the touchable opacity. Let's kind of make a quick variable to kind of demonstrate that. We're going to do a const button result and set button result. Equals use state use state, and you will need, for this example, you will need the use state from React. We're just gonna have this be like a counter. So the goal is just to like increment 1 by 1 by 1 button result. Let's actually set. Whenever the user presses the button, we're going to set the button result to whatever it was before, +1. Which what it was before would be 0 for the very first time. And let's have another text in here. Let's have it outside of the touchable opacity. Button result. And we can see that here, button result. We're going to have it just open bracket, close bracket. We can put in right in our text, just button result. It's the actual variable. So we'll see button result 0. And we'll kind of see it increment now. As we press the button, we are going into the pressed function. When we go into the pressed function, we are setting the button result, which is really just incrementing the integer for the button. So for the touchable opacity, pretty much the strong area from the touchable opacity is that because it's not a button, it's just a clickable area, you can have this entire view be a touchable opacity. So what that might mean is maybe you have a list and all of the items in the list are needing to be clicked. Well, in this case, that's fine because the entire area can be a touchable opacity. I'm going to try to make another view in here. View. Let's do, just trying to maybe clean it up a little bit. Text 1, just so you can see how dynamic touchable opacity might be in Expo. And let's create another text in here, text 4. So this is just showing that we actually have a view. Tighten it up. So touchable opacity now encapsulates the text 1, 2, 3, but also our entire view. In here we have a text or whatever type of elements that we want, but the touchable opacity can still kind of be used to capture a button click on a screen or a view. We're going to go one step further in here, and we're going to show a touchable opacity in here. Yeah, let's do it in here. Text. So we're going to want a style. Styles dot button. This is the style that we have already. Let's change the style just so we can kind of see that it's different. So we're going to have this one be a different color. Let's do green. Finding a green, finding a green. Button 2. That's what we're going to name this style, button 2. No, this is, in this case, we're just doing a test for making a button in React Native Expo, demonstrating right now the touchable opacity and kind of how you can use that in different ways in React Native. The button right now, just to show that we have 2 buttons in here. So we have testing button 1 and also testing button 2 is in here. It's not incrementing the button result. That's because we haven't put an on press on it yet. So we can do an on press and my pressed function. So now our second button is also responsible for incrementing the button result because they're both using the same press function right here. My press function, set button result. It's just going to increment the actual variable. It's just going to add 1 to the button result. Right now the button result starts off as 0. So this is our touchable opacity. One thing to mention is that pretty much at this point it's mainly just styling. It's mainly just styling whenever we're looking at the button. So let's take out like some of the styling right now just to get an idea. Let's take out all of the styling. And we see here that it doesn't really look like a button, but it's all still acting like a button. So it's kind of important to use a good styling whenever you use touchable opacity. We're going to bring those stylings back. And let's use an example for styling text now. So we have the button styled. Let's actually do a styling on the text. So in here, how to do a new style. We already have our styles array right here. Const styles is stylesheet.create. We have just this array of styles. Let's do button text. And let's try maybe just a different color. What color goes with blue? Let's try just a darker color, darker blue. Let's do a little bit, maybe font size change. Font, F-O-N-T, font size. Let's do 18. And at this point, it's just CSS. Let's do a small margin. Margin of, let's just say 5. And let's see how that's changed things. Okay, that's changed nothing because we're not using this button text anywhere. We're not using the styling anywhere. So on our text, we would do a style equals, open and close squiggly brackets, styles dot button text. Now we can kind of see it here. Let's take out these other texts. This was just for demonstration that you can have a lot of elements and items, a lot of texts, especially inside of your button. You can have a whole scroll view as a button, just like this example. This was another example of a view being inside of a button. So we took that out. Let's go ahead and save. When we save, we'll see that we still have this text. Let's take that out too. When we save, we see we have this testing button. We also have this one. Let's do some more styling on that one. Testing button 2 is a text where we style styles dot button text. Now I think we can do another style for button text. Let's do bold, B-O-L-D. Let's do no margin. Missing a comma here. No margin, but we're going to try to do font family. I think I can do font family bold. trying to see what the font. I think it's just bold. Let's do a little smaller button. So this is just demonstrating the styling. I don't think the bold is actually catching on this. So let's do another one then. Oh, hold on. I don't know if we actually applied this to the button 2. Okay, there we go. If you are on Visual Studio Code, you can do if you press the control on your keyboard, you can click on a styling, and like you can kind of see how I'm not pressing control right now, but if I press control, everything kind of starts to light up whenever I hover over it, it starts to highlight. You can click right on the style and it will take you to exactly in that area. We're going to change this to 20. So we can kind of see now the different stylings, both buttons. One button is a view, one button is its own button, I guess, with just a text. The button that has a view is this in here. We have the text testing button, then we have its own view. And for the button result, it's just a text. If you want, you can style this one too. But this was just an example of touchable opacity. I'm going to be doing a YouTube short on it, but I just kind of wanted to have something that maybe spent a little bit more time in case anybody wanted to dive a little deeper, specifically with some of the styling or even the function, the pressed function. If you still have any questions, feel free to send me a message, send me an email. It's all on YouTube, but I will be putting out a short soon. And I hope that you're able to see it, and I hope this helps.